If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're listening to the Health Courage Collective Podcast, episode 75, How to Be Unhappy for the Rest of Your Life, originally published November 17th, 2021. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective Podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to another episode. I'm so happy you're here on this December day or whenever you're listening. How is your Alzheimer's prevention going? I hope it's helpful to you to know that it's more optional than we've been led to believe. Of course, every circumstance is different, but I do think it's worth knowing that it's not 100% dumb luck. You have a lot of control, and there are things that can be done even after symptoms have started, and that the symptoms are manifestations of cellular processes that started at least 20 years before. That's a long lead time until symptom development, and it's so important. Today, we're going to talk about how to be unhappy for the rest of your life. Fun, right? There's so much good information out there about the science of happiness. I love the whole positive psychology movement. Focusing on investigating what people do right to help them thrive is fascinating, and it helps high-functioning people like us improve and optimize, which is what we're all about here. You've probably heard of Abraham Maslow before. He was a psychologist who lived from 1908 to 1970. You've probably heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs that he created and is famous for. He stressed focusing on the positive in people instead of treating them as, quote, a bag of symptoms. This was the beginning of positive psychology. He's brilliant. He's quoted all the time from a lot of people, including me right now, because the title of this episode comes from a quote from him. He said, "If you deliberately plan on being less than you are capable of being, then I warn you, you will be unhappy for the rest of your life." What do you think about that? Does it ring true? Can you be truly happy settling for less than you're capable of? I think a lot about distinguishing pleasure from joy in my mind. In our society, we're bombarded with messages, both overt and subliminal, telling us that pleasure is happiness. I'm sure you know intellectually that new mascara, a new smartwatch, a new car, or even a Chalupa Supreme won't make you authentically happy. What? I don't eat at Taco Bell or watch TV, so I had to Google that last item. And some of the other things that came up at Taco Bell were a Cheeto burrito, which is what it sounds like, and a Kit Kat quesadilla. No, I had no idea this was a thing. I like living in oblivion. The only thing my family ever watches on regular TV is American Ninja Warrior, except when we go on vacation, and then there's cable. But there are so many commercials that even my kids are like, ugh, it's just not worth it. I don't know if that's because of the amount of time dedicated to commercials or because they're all drug ads, which I always have something to say about, and they're like, okay, Mom, we get it. We just want to watch West Coast Customs. But it's everywhere, right? Pleasure versus happiness. We're led to believe that happiness is easy and just one purchase away. Our culture would have us believe that the way to be unhappy for the rest of your life is to miss out on the newest iPhone release, have a daughter without salon highlighted hair, or have last year's paint color on your walls. We know this isn't true. There are a lot of things we could talk about that research has shown to actually boost happiness, which is awesome because we have all kinds of levers we can pull to create an authentically happy life. Today we're going to focus on this one piece from this quote, that you will be unhappy for the rest of your life if you deliberately plan on being less than you are capable of being. It has common threads that weave through all the other happiness strategies, so I think it's supremely important. I love Stoic philosophy from the ancient Greeks and Romans. It's good stuff. One of the Stoic philosophers, who had a little side gig as a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius, said, "Everything, a horse, a vine, is created for some duty. For what task, then, were you yourself created? A man's true delight is to do the thing he was made for." Similarly, our friend Abraham Maslow said, "Musicians must make music. Artists must paint. Poets must write if they are to be ultimately at peace with themselves." What human beings can be, they must be. They must be true to their own nature. This need we may call self-actualization. It refers to man's desire for self-fulfillment, namely to the tendency for him to become actually what he is potentially, to become everything one is capable of becoming. What one can be, one must be. There's always something inside of us nudging us to evolve into the next version of ourselves. According to Maslow, it's not what one can be one desires to be, or what one can be one kind of thinks would be nice if there's enough time for it. It's what one can be one must be. It's a need, and if you ignore it, it's like slowly depriving your soul of oxygen. If you ignore it, you will start to experience symptoms like angst, anxiety, despondency, disconnection, hopelessness, and being unhappy for the rest of your life. So, what were you made for? What latent potential do you have inside? In her book, The 5-Second Rule, Mel Robbins talks about nudges we get from our intuition and how to start paying attention to them. She says our intuition is wiser than our rational mind because we're all capable of rationalizing our way out of something good, something that perhaps we need to do to become who we must be. Hey there! I wanted to quickly interrupt and let you know that it's so much less of a struggle to consistently dominate your health choices when the thoughts you think naturally nudge you toward what you're trying to achieve. If you're looking to more consistently rock your healthy behaviors, I have a completely free 18-minute mini course for smart women like you who know that sometimes a quick mind flip can go a long way. Click the link in the show notes or go to healthcourage.ck/page/mini for this free mini course on 6 thoughts people who consistently rock their health choices think, and start putting one of them to good use inside your head today. One of the things Abraham Maslow talks about a lot is how every choice is an opportunity to step forward into growth or step backward into safety. If we keep stepping back, we miss out on our hero's journey. Our intuition and our soul know we're capable of so much more. When we hold ourselves back, we start to feel trapped. We might start to take those frustrations out on the people around us. The quickest way to start building authentic joy isn't to seek out pleasure that numbs or distracts us from the soul-deep discontent of stepping back and playing small. It's to take a step forward, even a tiny one. Stepping forward into growth takes courage. That's why the name of this podcast has the word courage in it. It seems silly to have to muster up some courage to be able to move toward being happy, but it really does. A step forward into growth feels scary, but it's also the way to meet the need we have to become who we're meant to become. The awesome thing about stepping forward and becoming what we must be is that we don't have to get there today to be happy. We might not ever get there, but we'll still be happy just for trying. Legendary basketball coach John Wooden said, "Perfection is what you are striving for, but perfection is an impossibility. However, striving for perfection is not an impossibility. Do the best you can under the conditions that exist. That's what counts." That reminds me of one of my favorite concepts I use to guide my life. This comes from author Tal Ben-Shahar, who says that our ideals are guiding stars, not distant shores. We use that perfect vision we have of who we must be to guide our journey, but we know from the outset that we'll never actually get there. There's nowhere to get. It's not a distant shore. It's the star that guides our moment-to-moment choices. It allows us to embrace the constraints of reality and be optimalists instead of perfectionists. Another awesome quote from Abraham Maslow says, "There are no perfect human beings. Persons can be found who are good, very good indeed. In fact, great. There do in fact exist creators, seers, sages, saints, shakers, and movers, even if they are uncommon and do not come by the dozen. And yet these very same people can at times be boring, irritating, petulant, selfish, angry, or depressed. To avoid disillusionment with human nature, we must first give up our illusions about it." Isn't that so good? Give up your illusions about yourself and others. We are all great and not so good at the same time. Believing there's a perfect human out there, or that you can become one, will make you unhappy. But stepping forward into growth to move closer to who you can be will bring you joy. How can you step forward and move toward who you are meant to be, even while not taking yourself too seriously? In the Buddhist text, the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if you abandon all attachment to the results of your actions, you will attain supreme peace. And that a wise person is one whose undertakings are free from anxiety about the results. Do your anxieties about stepping forward out of safety and into growth have to do with clinging to your idea of what should happen as a result of your actions and when? I know mine do. I like to succeed and for things to go exactly how I planned. I'm sure we all do. I don't think I'm alone in that. But how great would it be to just let all of that go? To move toward who we want to be without stress, all while having fun along the way. I think it's possible. I think it requires loosening our grip on what we think the outcome of our efforts should be. What do you think? How could you make stepping forward less scary and more fun? Another quote from Coach John Wooden says, "I finally coined my definition of success in 1934. Success is peace of mind that is the direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you did your best to become the best that you are capable of becoming. Furthermore, only one person can ultimately judge the level of your success. You." Think about that for a moment. I believe that is what true success is. Anything stemming from that success is simply a byproduct, whether it be the score, the trophy, a national championship, fame, or fortune. They are all byproducts of success rather than success itself. Indicators that you perhaps succeeded in the more important contest. The real contest, of course, is striving to reach your personal best, and that is totally under your control. When you achieve that, you have achieved success. Period. You are a winner, and only you fully know if you won. End quote. I like that he says that the results we might be clinging to, like championships, fame, or fortune, as proof that our effort mattered, are not actually the success. They are byproducts of the true success. They aren't what we should be chasing. They're just the scenery along the way. The true success is striving to reach your personal best. And the great thing about that is that it doesn't depend on anybody else or any external circumstances the way the things we think we want do. Whether we strive to live up to our personal best is 100% within our own control. You've probably heard of Carol Dweck before. She's the growth mindset lady who teaches us about how to talk to our kids and grandkids to promote a mindset that fosters productive learning and work. She's awesome. I highly recommend all her work. She talks about the joy of striving wholeheartedly for worthwhile things and using your abilities in service to what you deeply value. Relishing a challenge is what makes for a satisfying life, and showing enthusiasm for hard things is a great model for our children and everyone around us. It cultivates true joy. A quote from her says, "Some years ago, as I reached one of the landmark ages, I asked myself what I would like to be able to say at the end of my life. And it was this. I want to be able to say that I kept my eyes open, faced my issues, and made wholehearted commitments to things I valued. I did not want to be haunted by a litany of regrets or left with a bundle of potentialities that were never realized." As adults in this society, our mission is to equip the next generations with the tools they need to live a life of growth and contribution. Can we make the commitment to help them become smarter than we were? End quote. See, told you she was awesome. As we think about what we're here to do, what our intuition is nudging us to explore, what calls to us as who we must become, lest our souls start showing symptoms of being strangled. Remember that even baby steps and tiny amounts of progress lead to authentic joy. Moving forward feeds our soul, and stepping back into safety suffocates it. As we dream of who we must become just because we can, remember that your physiology affects your psychology. Whatever growth is for you, you're going to need enough physical energy to be able to take that step forward. That's what I care about. I already know you're awesome and on your way to doing amazing things. I'm here to hopefully help you along the way to have enough energy and not be held back by limitations on your stamina or strength or health. I also believe that being a healthier, more energetic and zesty you will make you happier and the rest of the world a better place as a result. So, how can we be unhappy for the rest of our life? Every time I think of the title of this episode, that song runs through my head, if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. Okay, it's so hard to stop. At least I didn't get to the yeah part. No one wants to hear that song. My husband and I played that at our wedding reception 19 and a half years ago. And it's not a very long song, but all these people kept coming up to Aaron over and over and saying, "Oh no, you're not going to be happy for the rest of your life." Which was sweet of them to say and everything, but there are only so many times you can hear the same joke over and over within a 2-minute time period, and we were like, oh boy. So, to be unhappy for the rest of your life, we simply deliberately plan on being less than we're capable of being. We play small and step backward into safety. We accept what society feeds us and mistake pleasure for joy. We ignore our intuition. We are perfectionists instead of optimalists. We clench tightly to our ideas of what the outcome of our efforts should be. We think we'll eventually arrive at a distant shore and then we'll be exonerated. We compare ourselves to others and our potential goes unrealized. In short, what we can become, we don't become. We don't even try. Of course, now that we know how to be unhappy for the rest of our life, we can do the opposite. What's one small step forward that your intuition has been nudging you to take? Can you do that today? I want to close by echoing Carol Dweck's words again. At the end of my life, I want to be able to say that I kept my eyes open, faced my issues, and made wholehearted commitments to the things I valued. I do not want to be haunted by a litany of regrets or left with a bundle of potentialities that were never realized. Thank you for being here with me today. Next week, we're going to talk about vitamin K. Until then, don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.